Welcome to Behind the Curtain IMO. I'm Betsy Jordan. Hurricane Helene, devastating to western North Carolina for sure. It's what I'm most familiar with. I was born and bred in North Carolina and lived there for most of my adult life. But I didn't live in the far western part of the state. Some people were saying that Donald Trump was critical of Kamala for not showing up, not going to Hurricane Central when they were saying, please don't come. Because when you come with your entourage and getting your photo op, you're crowding the highways that are already pretty blocked off. In the mid to late 1990s, I was living in Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina. And that year we had 3 hurricanes. The eye of the hurricane came over Wrightsville Beach. So we learned a lot about hurricane preparedness. We learned a lot about what happens after a hurricane. And we learned a whole lot about the fact that we can't control it, right? Now there is research being done today on trying to manage weather patterns and trying to control the weather. But we're not there yet. We're not able to do that yet. So if you've heard any sort of nonsense about how, we had tried to guide the path of the hurricane so that it hit all these places in western North Carolina, I promise you, that is delusional. That is delusional talk. Why? Because no one wants to kill people like that. No one wants the hurricane path to come straight across western North Carolina, a state that a lot of people really want to live in, and its natural beauty. No one would want to ruin that. So sometimes, though, these preposterous things that people say, they hit a chord in us, a resonance that begins to grow. It's like a seed that is planted. I'm going to caution you about those things, these things that sound preposterous. It is possible that one day we may control the weather. So that is the seed of truth, right? However, that is not true now. At this point in time, that is not true. So no one tried to guide the weather. I will say that there are a lot of studies being done on the ways to combat, interrupt climate change. And some of it is, how do we deal with what we've got? So now, with the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, there was a time when Hurricane Hugo went through Charlotte. And the hard part about that is it's so unpredictable, the amount of damage. You just can't believe the amount of damage. And you can't believe that you're without power, and you can't believe the destruction. If you're living in a community like that that's hit by a hurricane, it is like you're living in a twilight zone. So my heart goes out to people who are experiencing that in their own backyards, or that they've lost a loved one, or that they're still suffering from their own injuries due to flooding and hurricanes. And this conversation that we need to have about climate change, this conversation needs to be less political and more about a one world solution. And that means we're going to have to figure out how to get along, people. So let's figure that out. So with an eye to doing that, when we're talking about these issues, let's stay to what the facts are so that we know in a rocks are hard, water is wet kind of way what we're dealing with, meet it head on, and then work together to find these solutions. Instead of pointing fingers and shaming and blaming and look to the past, it's time to prepare for a future, to make sure we have one. This is Behind the Curtain, IMO, which stands for In My Opinion. Thank you for being here.